Hey team, welcome to Monday Morning Pearls. Before we get into the pearl, want to point you towards our podcast. You can find it at spanthechasm.com/podcast. Podcast series built by conversations with expert senior sales leaders, key success habits, things teams are doing well, areas where they've made mistakes that we can all learn from. The whole point of this is to help you sell better today. Now on to the pearl.
Hey gang, welcome back to another edition of Monday Morning Pearls. We're super fired up to share this set of Monday Morning Pearls with you on how to recession-proof your sales team. Because these are practices that whether you go into a recession and they're a matter of survival, or whether or not they're things that you implement and do in an economic expansion that's getting a little long in the tooth, they're incredibly important. So Randy, what do you want to talk about today?
This one's my favorite. By far, this is my favorite topic. Extreme ownership, page 270 at the bottom of the page, lights this one up. Discipline creates freedom. This is, I believe now, if we're going to have an economic downturn, the disciplined are going to win.
Yeah, I think that's probably true. And imagine the idea of where it applies, right? Why does discipline matter in an economic downturn even more so than when things are a little loose? Well, and because in an economic downturn, your qualified pipeline may just start disappearing, right? You've got deals and you're typically a 35% close rate, and all of a sudden you have reps that are moving below that, and it's 20, it's 22. You feel like you're doing pipeline reviews and everything's the same as it always has been. And there's no obvious reason as to why that's happening. And just imagine how bad that will feel when you can't actually lean into how you can fix it. So what do you want to talk about as far as discipline today, Randy? There's so much we cover, but man, there's a few key topics.
Well, and it's so important, just to echo what you were talking about. It's like, you're trying to build a house on quicksand, man. It's just it feels so fragile. So some topics we can talk about. One that's near and dear to my heart here is operating rhythm. When is the time for discipline? Is operating rhythm is going to be incredibly important. Now, you must allocate time to do those things that you used to do by happenstance. You've got to get out in front of these things. You just simply cannot let random behavior drive your calendar.
Yeah, and so give me a little bit more. So what is operating rhythm? We talk about not letting happenstance, being disciplined about doing it, but just tactically, give me here's an example of that.
Here's an example. Okay, let's talk about PG, pipeline generation. Whether you're inbound or outbound, there's a certain amount of time that you need to invest in your calendar to make sure that your efforts around pipeline generation are sufficient. Now, here's what I know, having done this role as a sales coach for a lot of years, even though it's incredibly important, it's one of the first things that comes off the calendar. So one of the first things I would say with regard to operating rhythm is make sure that you've got committed time every single week that you will protect with your life to focus on front end of the pipeline generating stuff. You absolutely must do it. But talk to me about doing it the right way.
Yeah, you're so right, Randy. You want to do the right thing the right way repeatedly. Now, it sounds super simple, right? Oh, that's how I live my life. Well, that's not necessarily true, because here's what I can tell you. I can find out what's important to anyone by looking at two things. Have any idea what those are?
I bet I'm going to find out.
All right. The two things that'll tell me what's important to you and where you place preference, your calendar and your bank account.
Yep.
Those are the two things. If it doesn't make your calendar, it's not important. If it's something that's not a moment on your calendar that you will stick to, that you may move from Monday to Tuesday, but you'll never skip over and delete, right? Then it's not important. Yeah. So the right thing, the right way repeatedly is such an incredibly important concept because it works in all economic times. But how do you think it'll feel? What's the change this will have for a sales team?
Well, knowing that we humans don't always act in our own best behavior, and that we, as salespeople, will drop off our pipeline generation as an example, or our operating rhythm rigor will drop off. Imagine how it's going to feel when you or your sales team are really taking an approach where, with their calendar, they win the day, they win the week, they win the month. They've got a plan for it. They're getting the things on that they know they need to get done. It's going to feel like heaven when other people are falling all around you.
Yeah, how awesome will it be to not have to feel like you've got to say, did you make your calls? Did you do your emails? When you no longer have to manage the behavior because you've put in the process to do the right thing the right way repeatedly. You've calendared it. You've focused on pipeline generation. That's just, as a sales leader, that's just nirvana.
But hey, just a little bit of, as the senior guy.
Substantially more senior guy.
The senior guy in this video. Chaos does not like order, and chaos tries to win. if you believe these principles are true, and by the way, the world is full of proof points on why these things matter, you're going to have to fight for this because there can be plenty of opportunities that are going to distract you from it. So just know that's coming.
Absolutely, because when you go to put an operating rhythm in and you say these hours are my hours for this thing, what's interesting is that you probably won't be fought by your prospects, your clients. Yeah. You'll be fought by your internal resources.
Well, and think of this, and you're going to have to use that magic word. No, I can't help you with that at this time.
You know, that sounds like a great other Monday morning pearl. I wonder. So from here, hey, look, these are the things that we think are going to be incredibly important in a recession, particularly in expanding times, and they're a little long in the tooth. Absolutely, just as important. But they're near and dear to our heart and how we help sales teams improve and sales leaders master the chaos that surrounds them. So we'd love to talk to you. Something going on? You got some questions? Just reach out. You can see we're pretty two nice ball guys. We'll see you on the next Monday Morning Pearls.